Alright, so this week we're going to talk about solving quadratic equations by factoring. So using the same process that we talked about last class, but now we're going to go one step further with it and solve for x. So the way we do this is called the zero product property, and that is saying that if a times b equals 0, then we know either a equals 0 or b equals 0, okay? So if we are multiplying two numbers together and it has a product of 0, then no matter what, we know that one of them has to equal 0. So that's what the zero product property says. So an example of what we're going to do, if we have the quantity of 2x minus 1 times the quantity of x plus 3 equals 0, we can break this apart and say 2x minus 1 equals 0. And x plus 3 equals 0. And now we have two equations, and we just want to solve for x. So on the first one, 2x minus 1 equals 0. We're going to add 1 to both sides. So our 1's cancel. We're left with 2x equals 0 plus 1 is 1. And then divide by 2. So x equals 1/2. Okay. On the second one, we have x plus 3 equals 0. So we subtract 3 to get x by itself. So x equals -3. And those are your two solutions. X equals 1/2 and x equals -3. All right, looking at b, we have 2x plus 3 times the quantity 3x minus 1 equals 0. So we have 2x plus 3 equals 0, and 3x minus 1 equals 0. So if 2x plus 3 equals 0, we're going to subtract 3. So 2x equals -3, and then divide by 2. So x equals -3/2. The second one, we have 3x minus 1 equals 0. So we're going to add 1. So 3x equals 1. Then divide by 3. So x equals 1/3. So that's what's new this week. So we want to combine that with factoring. So looking at the first example, solve the quadratic equation by factoring. On A, we have x squared plus 9x equals -20. So the key thing with this is we always want to be equal to 0 first. Okay, we want to be equal to 0 first. So on this example, we need to add 20 to both sides. So now we have x squared plus 9x plus 20 equals 0. And now we can do our AC factoring. So A times C gives us 1 times 20, which equals 20. And we're looking for the factors of 20 that are going to add to be 9. Okay, so we have 4 times 5. Now, since A is 1, we can use the shortcut, which says we can jump straight to our answer. So we have the quantity of x plus 4 times the quantity x plus 5 equals 0. Now we can break them apart. X plus 4 equals 0, and x plus 5 equals 0. So for the first one, if x plus 4 equals 0, we can subtract 4 from both sides. So x equals -4. And then on the second one, x plus 5 equals 0, subtract 5 from both sides. So x equals -5. And there's your two solutions. Okay, so if we look at B, 3x squared plus 27x equals 0. There's only two terms, and when there's only two terms, we have two ways we can factor. The first one is going to be GCF, And the second one is our difference of 2 squares. Okay, so first thing check for GCF. So 3x squared plus 27x, they're both divisible by 3, and they both have an x in them. So we're going to factor that out. So 3x squared divided by 3x is x, and 27x divided by 3x is 9. So now we are factored. So we have two things being multiplied by each other. We have the 3x, which if you want, put that in parentheses to show that it's being multiplied, times x plus 9. So if 3x equals 0, or x plus 9 equals 0. So on the first one, 3x equals 0, 3 times x, so we're going to divide by 3, which leaves us x equals 0. And then x plus 9 equals 0, we're going to subtract 9 from both sides. So x equals negative 9. All right, looking at C, we have 2x squared plus x equals 15. So we're going to subtract 15 on both sides. So now we have 2x squared plus x minus 15 equals 0. Okay, and now we're going to do our a times c. So a here is 2 times c is negative 15. If you multiply those together, we get negative 30. And we're looking for the factors of negative 30 that add to be positive 1. And those two numbers would be 6 and negative 5. Now, since a isn't 1, it's 2, we can't use our shortcut. So we're going to plug that in. So we have 2x squared plus 6x minus 5x minus 15 equals 0. And then factor by grouping. So we're going to group our first two and group our last two. So 2x squared plus 6x, our GCF between the two are 2x, and then divide. 2x squared divided by 2x is x, and 6x divided by 2x is 3. And then negative 5x minus 15 equals 0. The GCF, since there's a negative in front, we're going to bring it down, and they're both divisible by 5. So negative 5x divided by negative 5 is x, and negative 15 divided by negative 5 is positive 3. And remember, we always want to check to make sure our parentheses match, and here they do. So we have x plus 3 times the quantity 2x minus 5 equals 0. And then set your two equations equal to 0. Oops. Oh, x plus 3. And 2x minus 5 equals 0. So if x plus 3 equals 0, we're going to subtract 3. And we get x equals negative 3. And then 2x minus 5 equals 0. We're going to add 5 to both sides. And so we're left with 2x equals 5. Divide by 2. So x equals 5 halves. All right, and our last one, D, we have x squared minus 9 equals 0. So we have two terms. So again, we're going to look at this idea that we can either do the GCF or the difference of two squares. So there is no GCF between x squared and negative 9. So now we need to see, can we do the difference of two squares? So we are subtracting, so there is a difference. And now we're going to do the two squares. So square root of x squared equals x. And the square root of 9 equals 3. So now we have the quantity x plus 3 times the quantity x minus 3 equals 0. Set them both equal to 0. So x plus 3 equals 0, x minus 3 equals 0. And then solve. So if x plus 3 equals 0, we're going to subtract 3 from both sides. So x equals negative 3. And if x minus 3 equals 0, we're going to add 3 to both sides. So x equals, equals positive 3. Okay, so we're going to learn actually next, or in 2 weeks, we'll learn a second way that we can solve D. But right now we're just going to stick with factoring and the zero product property. If you have any questions, make sure you're emailing your teacher and attending office hours. Thank you.